Hi, and welcome to CryptoBiography. I'm your host, Brandon Starr. This is episode 423 of CryptoBiography, and it's part one of The Meeting in the Wilderness. And here we go. Dio was taking a solo hike near Mount Hood. He'd taken this path before, at least up to this point. He was going to take a spur he had never taken before. He enjoyed trying new paths. This one he knew would be a big one. If he took the whole path, it would take 3 days of solid walking. Though he'd already been walking for 3 hours, his legs still felt good, and so did his feet. He would take a break, but not for a while longer. His pack was light. He'd done this enough that he knew what he needed and what he could leave behind. The weather was wonderful. Clear, a bit of a breeze, but not too hot. It was early in the spring. He did not meet a lot of other hikers on the trail. Even this amount dwindled to nearly nothing as the day wore on. Eventually, it came to night. He drank some water and had a small meal. He usually didn't bother with a fire, and he didn't on this occasion either. His meals did not require them, though he had the means to light a fire if it became necessary. He lay down in his tent and read. Soon he drifted off to sleep, with only the deep darkness of the forest and the soft noises of the breezes in the branches. The next day he stretched, had some water and some trail mix, and headed out. Soon he would be about as far from anyone else as he could be on this trip. Very few people took this particular path, even in the height of the season, and that wouldn't come for at least another month. There was a frost in the air in the morning, which kept things cool until midday. Because of this, and because there was almost no wind, every time he stopped, he could hear all the noises around him very clearly, carried on the cold air. A few times he thought he heard the crunch of footsteps behind him. He knew that getting crept up on by a mountain lion or any kind of bear would be bad news, especially as far out as he was. So he often stopped and looked around carefully once he'd heard these footsteps. But so far, nothing. There were no animals stalking him. The midday felt warm, particularly with his exercising. He snacked occasionally on trail mix and sipped water. He relished the ache in his legs. He knew that someday he would age, and making hikes like this would be harder, even impossible. But today he was young, he was strong, and he was enjoying the time he had. Dio ate his dinner overlooking a small lake. He'd looked around more, but seen no animals, or people for that matter, stalking him. But he could swear he had heard footsteps on several occasions. Still, his exhaustion allowed him to sleep. He knew that he would need it. He had one more full day of hiking and part of another to go. He was roughly as far out as he would get. As he relaxed, starting to drift, he rubbed his calves, not wanting them to cramp up during the night. His mind slipped into sleep, and he did not remember what dreams he had. They were almost always a jumble of images to him, especially after he woke up. And when he did wake up, a little before the sun rose, he heard some heavy steps outside. He froze. He assumed anything as heavy as that sounded had to be an adult bear. He must not make a sound. He had secured his food up a tree as one is supposed to do, but he didn't want to anger the bear. He kept hearing the steps outside. Eventually, somehow, he stopped thinking it was a bear. He usually associated bears with heavy breaths and snuffles, and here he heard none. He decided to look, but he was not about to open the door to his tent. But he could just inch it down a tiny bit and create a small gap that might give him a view of the person or the bear or whatever. He inched towards the entry flap, still trying to be quiet. There were no footsteps outside. He couldn't tell if the one who made them had left, was listening, or knew exactly where he was. He reached out and took the flap's zipper between his forefinger and thumb. Then, slowly, so slowly that the zipper only passed one tooth at a time, he drew it down. It was nearly silent. Finally, When it had gone down a couple of inches, the various stresses in the fabric of the door flap caused the short opening to widen and open. He stopped pulling and slowly moved forward to see what he could see outside the tent. He could see a few trees, but not much else. Then something swept in front of the flap. It paused right in front of his little peephole. It was an eye, a clear brown eye, not a bare eye. There was skin visible around it. He heard a voice, throaty yet feminine. "I was hoping we could talk." And that's the end of the story for this week. Obviously, this is going to continue on. If you have any comments or questions about this episode or previous episodes, cryptobiography@gmail.com, or hit us up on Facebook or Blue Sky. And thanks for listening. Words and music, copyright 2025, Brandon Starr, all rights reserved. Characters and events are fictional, fictionalized, or satirical.